We are connecting. Okay, there we go. Perfect. We are recording. Well, welcome everybody. Tonight's topic. My name is Donna Sickerman. I'm going to try to get our slideshow to load up shortly. I've just been playing with it here. And while slides might not be my strength, what is my strength is getting to come alongside all of my clients and my coaching partners to really help us become the people that we so desire to be. And whether that involves creating some health, taking off some weight, creating those healthy habits. This process that I started a little over 3 years ago has totally transformed my life. And as I like to say, the 120 pounds that I took off is truly the least interesting and exciting part of all of the change that has happened. So tonight we're going to be discussing a topic that whether you've ever tried to go after a big goal, whether it's weight loss related or health related or not, I think we can all agree that self-sabotage is quite a real thing. And it's something that we all need to be aware of because as they say, anytime we're going after a new level in life, there's a phrase, new level, new devil. And so we're going to be discussing tonight exactly what self-sabotage is and exactly what we can do, some real good inspiration around it, and then what we can do to be able to cut it off at the pass and really make sure that all these hopes, all these goals that we have, and we were just, if you were on for the pre-party, a bunch of us, the secret's out, a bunch of us get on a bit early to the Zoom to share some wins. You heard of some amazing stories already, and you also heard of some people sharing about their desires for what they want to create here. And so there's just no room for anything, especially ourselves, to derail us from that. So I would like to welcome our first speaker on, and Corey is someone that I've had the pleasure of watching his journey so far. Him and his beautiful wife, Angela, they are just agents of transformation in every way in their life. And I'm just so excited for you to get to hear a bit about him and his journey. And as he said, he is a self-proclaimed expert on self-sabotage. So Corey, take it away.
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. Thanks, Donna. I'm going to share, first of all, thank you for having me on. I am definitely an expert when it comes to self-sabotage, so I can speak to this. When I heard that was the topic, I'm like, I'm the guy for this. So I'm excited to get to share with you just for a few minutes some of my story. And I know everybody here has a different story, so I hope that this resonates with you. And I hope you actually learn some of what not to do from my story tonight. So um, about a year ago, actually 10 and a half months ago is when I started the plan, but it was about a year ago where I was a complete wreck from a health standpoint. In fact, it was April 10th of last year when I had this major health crisis happen. I ended up in the hospital for 4 days. Um, I was really sick. I did not have COVID, but I found out that I had diabetes and it had been undiagnosed for some time. So I had diabetes, sleep apnea, kidney disease, hypertension, high cholesterol. My BMI was at 37. I was 100 pounds overweight. And so again, I landed in the hospital for 4 days. If you know anything about blood sugar, normal blood sugar is about 100. Mine was over 1,400 the day that I went into the hospital. And so thus 4 days in the hospital. Eventually they sent me home. When they got it down a little bit, they sent me home and said, hey, you're going to give yourself 4 insulin shots every day for the rest of your life. Get used to it. And I was already taking a bunch of other medication as well. And so the truth is that for years, I tried lots of things to try to get the weight off. I had doctors telling me that I needed to lose weight and that I was having some issues, but I just didn't really know how to do it. I didn't know how to fix it. And so I didn't know how to get healthy. I'd been a college athlete. There was a lot of things I should have known that I just didn't know. And my health issues were a huge problem, but there were some other issues, some thinking, some ways of thinking that really were problematic. I'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute, but I really did know that something had to change. I just didn't know what. So my wife and I had this conversation about like, we have to at least try to do something. My thing was like, I'm kind of I'm kind of a chicken when it comes to like shots and stuff like that. So I'm like, I don't want to give myself shots for the rest of my life. That was kind of part of the motivation. But thankfully, about a month after I got out of the hospital, some friends introduced us to this plan. And on May 30th of last year, we started the plan. Um, so within 7.5 months, I'd lost 100 pounds doing this plan. My wife lost 85 pounds. And what's even more amazing than that is within a month of starting this plan. I know everybody has a different story. My story is that within a month of starting this plan, my blood sugar had regulated so drastically that my doctor actually took me off of all insulin, and then off of other medications a few months down the road. So now we're 10 and a half months in at this point. We're helping a few other people along this journey as well. It's really been amazing. When Donna says the least fantastic thing, the least amazing thing about this is losing the weight, it's so significant, but there's so much more that happened, so much more life change that really took place during the course of all of this. I don't really have time to talk about it all, but it's really been incredible. So listen, I want to say one thing. Like, I'm not a salesman. All I'm going to do is just tell you my experience. And quite honestly, in a real, tangible, physical, emotional, and even spiritual way, this being on this plan has really transformed our lives in more ways than I have time to talk about. So I want to say one thing before I talk a little bit more about self-sabotage for a minute. Um, you might be in a place, like, I hope that you're not in a place where I was, which was like the most extreme, the most extreme situation. But I know everybody's at different parts of their journey right now. Some of you are about to start. Some of you have just started. Maybe you're struggling a little bit. Maybe you've been on plan a little while and you've stalled out a little. And I just want to say to you, like, if I can do this, there was honestly probably nobody, my coaches can attest, who was more skeptical, more high maintenance, or any of that at the beginning of this. So honestly, like, if I can do this, you can do this. You can have success on this plan. I know you can do it. And so with the topic of self-sabotage, I just want to talk about this for just a few minutes. And again, I know everybody has a different story, a different journey. These aren't like the things, these are just my things. These are the things that sabotage me along the way, the self-sabotage things the tendencies that I have, that I've had to deal with and am dealing with. And so I just want to share a couple of those with you in the last couple of minutes that I have. So here's the first thing. The first tendency that I had to overcome was believing that things weren't that bad. Listen, I don't know, maybe it's just my personality or whatever, but I just kind of went through life thinking like, it's not that bad. My health isn't really that bad. Okay, so for 20 years, doctors were telling me, I don't like where your numbers are going. I don't like your blood pressure. I'm not liking where your blood sugar. I'm not liking your kidney numbers. You need to drop some weight. This has been going on for 2 decades. And so like, but somehow in me was this idea that things just weren't that bad. And so over the course of 25 years or so, things progressively got worse to the boiling point of last year. But the fact is, I don't know. I think just the self-confidence part of me worked against me in a sense, because it's kind of that idea that, okay, well, even in pictures, like, if you turn at a certain angle, the picture will look okay. It's not that bad. That's kind of how I approached all of life. So I tell you, I won't go so far as to say that I'm lucky because of the thing that happened to me health wise, but what it did was it painted a clear picture of where I was. And I think that's honestly, like, if we're going to battle this self-sabotaging belief that things aren't that bad, how we combat that is that we have to embrace current reality. I needed to embrace current reality, and I wish I would have done it without being forced to by going to the hospital. It's kind of one of those things that you tell your kids if you have kids. Like, I don't want you to have to do the same things and go through the same things that I went through. Listen, for all of you on here tonight, I'm going to be like daddy for just a minute, okay? I don't want you to go through the things that I had to go through. So for you, for your sake, listen, just take the steps now, face current reality, realize where you are. Sometimes that might mean that you have to go see that doctor. I talked to a guy who was considering plan. He's like, I'm 120 pounds overweight. I said, do you have any health issues? And he said, oh no, I haven't been to the doctor in 10 years. Well, just because you haven't been to the doctor in 10 years doesn't mean you don't have some health issues. It's really, really important to face your current reality, because it's not until you face current reality that you can do something about it, right? So that was the first mindset, self-sabotaging mindset that I had to overcome. And then the second thing was just this, believing that my excuses were justifiable. I really believe that my excuses were justifiable. If you've heard me share my story, I've shared this a few times, but I was really the king of excuses. I had an excuse for everything. I'll start Monday. I'll start after this next holiday. I'll start after my birthday. I'll start next week. I had an excuse for, like, we're going to go eat if we're celebrating. We're going to go eat if something stressful happened. We're going to eat. There was excuses around literally everything in my life. And so if we're going to combat this self-sabotaging mindset, we've got to embrace a new mindset, because everything starts and falls on how you think and on what you think. I had a teacher, an algebra teacher in the 9th grade, who had this phrase that we all remember. Everybody who was in his class still remembers it. But he said, an excuse is a lullaby to soothe a guilty conscience. And it was something that he kind of drilled home to his students. And so I just want to say, like, he was right. An excuse is a lullaby to soothe the guilty conscience. Listen, some of you need to give yourselves a break. But for me and my personality, I don't need to give myself a break. I need some tough love sometimes. That's why scripture talks about better are the wounds of a friend than the kiss of an enemy, right? And so sometimes we just need somebody who would tell us the truth. We need to lean in and kind of drop all of the excuses. And then the last thing is just this. The last self-sabotaging belief that I had to deal with was believing that I could do this on my own. Listen, if you could do this on your own, you would have already done it. If I could have done this on my own, I would have done it. I had 20 something years to figure this out. I couldn't do it. I needed a coach. I needed a system. I needed a plan. So here's how you combat this self-sabotaging mindset, is that you have to follow this plan, embrace it 100%. Listen, this plan works, plain and simple. But if I could quote a Seinfeld episode, there's one fatal flaw. There's one fatal flaw to this plan. You have to actually follow it. You have to actually do it. And so, listen, again, I'll stop there. If I can do this, you can do it. I believe that you have all the tools. You have a person who loves you and believes in you enough to tell you about this plan and to bring you here tonight, to put you into this program. Just lean into it. It works. And if I can do it, you can do it. Thank you very much. Appreciate the attention.
Thank you, Corey. And anyone that is going to quote Seinfeld amongst the greats is I knew you were to be trusted here, my friend. Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think that we are going to be able to get our screen up and loading, because I was seeing a lot of different requests to see Corey's amazing progress here. So right, here we go. Stay with me, everybody. Here we go. This is Corey and his beautiful wife, Angela, right here. And you could see the amazing progress. We actually had Corey speak a few months ago on a different Zoom that we did for our smaller community. And I can tell such a difference already from that photo then versus this one that you and Angela had up the other month. So thank you very much for sharing. And now I am very excited to bring up Megan Schwartz. So Megan is, she's going to share a bit more about self-sabotage with us. Megan, you should be able to unmute.
Yes, hello everybody. Wow, can everyone hear me? Okay. Wow, Corey, that every time I hear your story, I am just so inspired, and I'm just so grateful to this program for bringing you and Angela into our lives. So thank you for sharing your heart with us tonight. And thank you, Donna, because if our husbands hadn't grown up together and you hadn't said yes to getting healthy, I wouldn't be here today either. So I'm so grateful to both of you. The past few months, some of you may know what I've been going through, and some of you might not, have been extremely challenging to me. We've really been through a lot. At the end of October, my father was diagnosed with esophageal cancer and passed away 7 weeks later. Suddenly, I didn't have a father, and I now had to manage everything for my mother, who doesn't know how to use the internet or take care of anything. And then in March, I gave birth to my fifth daughter, and I needed to recover from a 6 C-section. And 4 days later, my mother-in-law with early dementia moved in to stay with us for a few months. And then last week, when I thought things were finally starting to calm down or normalize, even though I don't know what normal is without a father anymore, my 27-year-old sister passed away from an overdose. So, and I'm not saying this, to win a medal in suffering or for everyone. Thank you so much for all your beautiful comments. And I'm not saying this to share how horrible things are, or to say like there's some award to be given to a busy person or someone who's taking care of their 6 children and mother-in-law and husband. What I'm saying is that we all have our stuff, right? And life doesn't get easier. You always say like, I can't wait for this. For those of you who are moms who've had kids, I can't wait for this baby to get out. No. The baby is much easier inside. Just for the record, when it's out, you need to like feed it and diaper it and take care of it, and you're not sleeping anyways. So, there's not necessarily going to be a better season, and we can't predict when that better season is going to be. So what we need to do is focus on what we can control. When I first started the program, just about 3 years ago, I had just had my 5th baby. And, I never lost weight from those first 4. And Donna at that point was down 40 pounds towards her 120. And I was like, whatever you're doing, I'm just going to do it. And when my baby and this is when she came to visit me in the hospital, I was like, tell me when I can start. Nursing mom's plan, like, let's go. And when my baby was 6 days old, we found out that we were moving to a new state. And then my father-in-law passed away. And I thought that was the busiest time I was going to ever experience. But what I discovered at that point, and when I started our journey, was that there's a lot in our life that we can't control. Yet one thing that we can control is what goes in our mouth, right? So that's when I started the program. It was 3 years ago, because I could control what went in my mouth. Another thing I could control is how I built accountability around myself. So when we start the program, not telling people that we're on the program, not sharing with our friends and family that we're on a health journey, that alone is a form of self-sabotage. Hiding in a closet, eating our bars, keeping them in a drawer in our bedroom so no one in the family sees, that is a form of self-sabotage. So how do we conquer that? You need to share and post. You need to post in your client support page. Whatever your client support page is called, go in there and share that you're on a health journey. Post on your own Facebook page. Tell your family, your friends, your coworkers. Start building accountability for yourself. Because when people are watching, failure isn't an option. I made it so public that I started this health journey because I wanted to be embarrassed if anyone saw me not eating healthy. So when I was at an event, someone said to me, Megan, like, you're not eating that, right? That's not on your health plan. Or when I said no to dessert at someone's home, they didn't question me because they knew I was taking control of my health. So post on social media, share, tell people, not necessarily that you're doing Optavia, just that you're on a health journey. Because that is what is going to rock your own journey and help others support you along the way. So that's number one. And let me tell you what happens when you build accountability. When my sister passed away, in our tradition, in the Jewish tradition, we tend to bury the dead as soon as possible. So it's a very quick process of planning a funeral, making all the arrangements, and life is just crazy for that 24, 48 hours of doing that. But you know what happens when you build accountability is people meet you at the airport with a salad. So that when you get off your plane and have to get a rental car, you have a salad there. So you have something healthy to eat. And that when you go to a relative's home after the funeral, they have a spaghetti squash waiting for you because they know it's your favorite vegetable because you've shared about it on social media. And not only do they do that, they send you food when you're mourning because our community will support each other. And they also sent me baby gifts when I had a baby because our community, we love to come together. We love to share. We love to support each other. And that's what happens when you build accountability. One of the questions I get asked the most in my 3 years now is, how do you keep off your weight, right? How have you kept off your 65 pounds for 2+ years? Number one is I drink 120 ounces of water a day, but we all know that. Okay, I always say 2 things. The first thing is that avoid what you can. Limit your challenges. If it's not in your house, you can't eat it. It's that simple. If it's not there, you can't eat it. So don't buy the trigger foods. Don't buy the things, even if it's your spouse's favorite thing. Even if it's your kids' favorite snack that they begged you to buy. Don't bring it into your home. Because if it's not there, you can't have it. So what do? You buy your kids the things you don't like. My kids get a lot of barbecue flavor things because I do not like barbecue flavor, right? What they don't get is dried mango because I love it. They also don't get pretzel crisps or Stacy's pita chips because I can eat the entire bag. So I just don't bring it into my home. Okay, that's number one. If it's not there, you can't have it. And number 2, I remember years ago before starting program, my stomach was always so upset on Saturday night, Sunday night, after a big event, after a vacation. And I just felt that was normal. Like, I don't know, I have a stomach problem. Okay. Within 4 days of being on 5 and 1, 3 years ago, I no longer ever had stomach issues. So how do I keep off my weight? Because I know what it feels like. I now know that those stomach aches are not what life is about, and we're not supposed to have them. I feel amazing. So why would I ever want to go back, right? Or feel that way again? No, I love how I feel on 5 and 1. So I am going to stay in fat burn. And then when you get to your goal, I'm going to transition, I'm going to maintain, and I'm going to follow our guidelines that my coach and my mentorship have given me because that's how I feel amazing. Lastly, we have a lot to be grateful for. And starting every day, thanking God, thinking different things, thinking what you're grateful is going to really do an amazing job with your mindset. But let's start just by thanking Dr. A, because he gave us a tool of stop, challenge, and choose. He gave us the words. He told us what to do. As you see behind me, success is a decision, right? So we are making the decision to be successful with our health, with our business, in our marriage, as a parent, in our relationships, whatever it is it's a decision. And we have that power to make the decisions that will lead us to health and that will lead us to success in whatever we're looking for. So I hope that helps. Just by coming on here tonight, you guys are all taking that first step to setting yourself up for success. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you. Wow. Okay. If anyone else, I hope that you saw the chat because gosh, the love and the support that you received just from our community on this call tonight is incredible. And thank you for sharing something that I know is challenging to share. So we are just going to wrap up this call about self-sabotage. This is me, by the way. I will say that the Donna on the left, the Donna kind of looking at the camera here in my body 3.5 years ago, this was after I'd already taken off about 20 pounds. And even though I started coaching from day one because I decided to just tear the Band-Aid off and share the journey, I still believed I would fail. And it wasn't until I was called out by Miss Michelle Heyman when I Zoomed with her that she said, "Why aren't you sharing your own before photos? Do you think you're going to fail?" And so then I said, "Well, I'll show her." And then I finally had the nerve to take those. So, this is the definition that Webster's gives sabotage that I wanted to share, kind of tying up what Corey and Megan beautifully shared. Sabotage is defined as to deliberately destroy, damage, or obstruct something. Now, a word from that definition really popped out for me. The word being deliberate. We have to deliberately, actually intentionally do some things. So that's my first question. Are we even being aware? Are we being deliberate about what it is that we're doing? Are we just happenstantially making decisions and going through things, or are we actually taking a moment, stop, challenge, and choose to really dial ourselves in? I get asked a lot now that it's been several years since I lost 120 pounds and have been living within the same range now going on, several years. I get asked like, "Donna, do you still enjoy your food? Do you still enjoy what you're eating?" And my answer is, I think I enjoy it now more than ever because I learned to be intentional. I became almost a pleasure connoisseur. I no longer will stand in my kitchen and quickly eat something so not even myself will notice. When I have something that I mindfully want to indulge in and enjoy, I don't even want my kids around. I want to be so focused and dialed in and enjoying it because I actually do want to be deliberate in that. In Japan, there's a practice. If you've ever been to Japan or heard of their incredible subway system, they have the subway system. I mean, you could Google some hilarious videos of shoving people into subways. I don't know if they're doing it in the time of our little pandemic, but it's pretty crazy. And so the subway system there has a fraction of the fatalities that, as of a couple of decades ago, the New York subway system had. And shout out to my fellow New Yorkers here. What's up? And so when I was reading this book that really detailed all of these fascinating things, New York subway engineers and safety officers went and studied Japan, and they brought one practice back. And that practice has saved countless lives in the New York subway system, which is the practice of pointing at a sign. If you are ever in New York, look at the subway conductor, they point at a sign. They have to point and say what they're about to do before they're about to do it. Why is that so effective at saving lives? Because they're saying what they're about to do before they're about to do it. They're bringing in some deliberation. They're bringing in some mindfulness into that moment. So if we just plug and say, I'm about to name it, I'm about to pretend things are not as bad as they actually are. What one of those beautiful things that Corey just shared, or as Megan shared, I'm about to buy something that's like one of my trigger foods and keep it in the house, and I'll just do the best I can. If we just point and we just say, regardless of what we pick, we're already ahead of the game. And then my other suggestion is to take the drama out of this. Take the drama out of this. Could you imagine if we spoke about going to the bathroom like we talk about our food choices? Like I really had to go and I just like couldn't hold it. Like, no, that's not how we talk about it. There's no drama when it comes to that. But there is suddenly when we're talking about the choices that we're making for ourselves and for our well-being. So take the drama out. There's no morality. If you make a choice that is outside of alignment with what you're looking to do with your health goals, you weren't bad. When you speak to your coach and you're like, "Oh, I was really bad this week." I say, "Oh, God forbid. I'm not equipped to handle this phone call. Like I'm not a reporter. I'm not the authorities." Like, "Oh no, Don, I ate something I shouldn't have." I'm like, "Oh, but you said you were bad." Those are two very different things. If you made a choice outside of your goals, we can totally talk about that and process, but that has nothing to do with whether you're good or bad. So take the morality out of it, take the drama out of it, lean into your coach, lean into your community, lean into the life book, and you are going to see so much amazing breakthrough on the other side. So I'm just so excited to hear about how all of you are pointing and talking about what you're doing. Stop, challenge, and choose. It's part of the process. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Megan, for sharing. We really appreciate it. And if you're joining us, everyone is welcome. We hop right back onto this Zoom for our coach training. And thank you all so much for being with us tonight. This was super fun.